There are a lot of reasons that you could lose in fantasy basketball, right? You could forget to set your lineups. You could be facing someone who is super skilled at streaming, but you don't want the reason that you lose in fantasy basketball to be because you did not watch or listen to this content. In this episode, we're going to go over some of the waiver wire targets that you need to focus on for week 19, but we're also going to break down the schedule for week 19 so you can execute if you're in the playoffs or if you're trying to make it into the playoffs. We believe every NBA fan that plays fantasy football should also play fantasy basketball. So we're back at it again. We got a bunch of people who are gearing up to start their fantasy playoffs this week. If you listen to our recommendations early at the beginning of the season, this is the week that you would be starting your fantasy basketball playoffs. I know many of you did not do that. Some of you guys actually just learned about the channel, maybe just learned about the suggested playoff schedule. So you're like, some people are going right to the end of the season. Just know that we're going to have your back for that as well. So even if you're not starting your fantasy playoffs this week, you're still going to get tons of value. BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all your basketball wagering needs, including pro and college hoops throughout the year. With up-to-the-minute odds, stats, and trends, you can follow your favorite team's path to the playoffs with in-game live betting, contests, and all the best player props. Experience the world's best wagering platform anytime from your desktop or your mobile devices. Head to BetOnline today to become part of the team, and remember to use the promo code BELIEVE for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. Here are the top 10 waiver wire targets you need to focus on for week 19 of the fantasy basketball season. Now, this list is not in order, right? So when I say top 10, it's just top 10 guys you need to take a look at, in my opinion, for this week. So it doesn't mean the first guy I say is first, the second guy I say is second. It's just the guys, man, right? And for me, the first person that we're going to talk about is someone that there have been some rumblings around the fantasy community over the last few weeks about him, and then there was an event that occurred a couple of days that broke a lot of hearts. It got a lot of fantasy basketball managers crying, sad. I'm one of them. I shed some tears over this one. There was an injury to a gentleman by the name of Scotty Barnes, and he was having one of the best breakout seasons that we've seen. So with that injury comes some opportunity for some other players on his team. And the first guy we want to talk about is none other than the rookie, Grady Dick. So listen, for me, I understand that opportunity sometimes presents itself in weird ways. Sometimes it's not ideal for us. Sometimes it's not something that we're happy about or excited about, but it is happening. Grady Dick is available in tons of leagues on all platforms, right? Whether you're on ESPN or Yahoo, but on ESPN in particular, he's only rostered in 3.3% of leagues. Now check this out. On the season, he's averaging 16 minutes a game. But over the last 7 days, he's averaging 23 minutes a game. That's something that we talk about a lot, is what kind of opportunity are players getting based on the minutes that they're getting, night to night. And it looks like he's going to be one of those ball handlers. He's one of very few guards that they even have on the team, and he's going to get a ton of opportunity. So over the last 7 days, Grady Dick has averaged 12.3 points per game, almost doubling his season average, right? 3.3 rebounds, 1.7 assists, about 0.7 steals. That's good. He's inching towards having 1 steal per game, which would be nice, but also 0 blocks. So it's not very sexy, right? Dick isn't the sexiest right now. But there's going to be an opportunity for him to get more burn. And if he starts putting up the numbers that I believe he can, he could be the type of player. He could be the type of player that actually can put fantasy managers over the edge, right? He could put you in a position where you are, he could put you in a position where you have a chance to bring home that fantasy championship. So I would go in on Dick, ride him to the playoffs if you can to see what happens. But the most important thing is, if he's available, you want to grab Dick. You want to pick him up, hold, and see how long the production lasts. The next player we want to talk about is someone that might actually already be on a roster, right? So he should be on a roster, but I had to talk about him because I noticed that he's available in way too many spots. So he's likely rostered already in your league, but if you are in a very shallow league or in not the most competitive league, there's a chance this guy is available. So I have to talk about him. CP3 from the Golden State Warriors, right? He's only rostered in 74% of ESPN leagues, so he is available, folks. Now, if he's rostered, that's fine. If you have him, hold. If you have Chris Paul on your team, hold. Do not, if he's healthy, you hold on to that man, because I know that he's not getting the type of usage that we've known him to get. He's still going to provide tons of values in points leagues and in category leagues. So I would hold tight. Since his return in the last 7 days, he's averaging 11 points a game, which is up from his season average. Four rebounds, 5.7 assists, and he's averaging 3 steals per game. I'll repeat that. Chris Paul over the last 7 days is averaging 3 steals per game. He's also on the season averaging 1.3 steals a game. So it's not a fluke that the man is getting defensive stats. If, in fact, you're in a position where you're trying to generate some defensive steals in a category league, or if you just want to get those spikes in a points league where you get, heavily weighted returns for steals, then that's somebody I would be taking a look at. The next guy, the third guy we're going to take a look at, is someone who, honestly, I'm just surprised that I'm even talking about him. A couple weeks went by, he put up numbers, he put up some more numbers, and he just keeps on going. From the Atlanta Hawks, I'm talking about DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter is only rostered in 15.6% of leagues, but there's a huge increase of people picking him up right now. So if he's available, he's somebody you want to take a look at. Over the last 7 days, he's averaging 27.8 minutes per game, which is a little less than his season average, actually. 16.3 points, 3.5 rebounds, 0.8 assists, which is hot dog water. Cold hot dog water. Not a good look. But about 0.8 steals per game and 0.3 blocks. On the second versus Brooklyn, he dropped 15 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. On the 29th versus Brooklyn, he did 12 points. And then on the 27th against Utah, he did 20 points, 5 rebounds. So you'll have some ups and downs with him. Obviously, he's not a top-tier guy. But if you're looking at people to stream in this playoff week, or if you're fighting and clawing to get into the playoffs, he is a guy that I'm taking a look at. The next person that we want to take a look at here is someone who I was super high on at the beginning of the season, and then he kind of tapered off. Things got kind of wonky on his team. People got injured, not injured. It's just been an up and down ride. But the most important thing about fantasy, guys, is making sure that you get people on your team when they are hot, when they are cooking with hot bacon grease. No avocado oil, no sesame oil. I'm talking like bacon grease, the leftover stuff that your grandma got in that little container next to the daggone stove. It ain't refrigerated. I don't know what kind of bacteria is building up in there, but it's gutter. And that's what you want. When these guys are cooking with hot grease, that's the kind of grease you want. And this brother has been doing just that. I'm talking about from the New Orleans Pelicans. Herb Jones. Herb Jones is anything but a herb. He is keeping it statistically sound. Over the last 7 days, 34 minutes a game, y'all. What? Where'd they do that at? He's averaging 29 minutes on a season, 34 minutes a game. Come on, man. 12.5 points over the last 7 days, 2.3 rebounds, 2.3 assists. Check this out. 1 steal a game. His average is 1.3, so he's on par with who he is as a defensive player. Listen, Herb Jones, not the sexiest pick, not something that I'm like, oh my God, let me do a backflip. He's the guy. I'm just saying that this week, you want to be aggressive with streaming. And we'll talk more about that when we go over the schedule. But I want you to know that these guys that we're talking about, well, my man, the professor says, my man, Bill, the professor says it all the time. Love them and leave them. Don't pick up a player like Herb Jones and be like, well, let me just hold on to him because, it'll look really nice on my shelf after I lose in the playoffs. Come on, man. Where they do that at? Like, you are playing for the day. You are playing for the week. So you got to be merciless, cutthroat when it comes to dropping and adding these players for the fantasy playoffs. So we have already gone through 1, 2, 3, 4 players. We're going to go to the 5th one right now. The 5th player. Oh, man. And this is somebody, he should be on the roster, but he's available in way too many spots. From the San Antonio Spurs, Trey Jones. Over the last 7 days, Trey Jones is averaging 30 minutes per game, which is up about 4 or 5 minutes from his average of 26.3 on the season. Check this out. 14.3 points per game over the last 7 days. On the season, 9.9. 5.7 rebounds, up 2 rebounds from his season average. 7.7 assists per game over the last 7 days. There is a trend here, folks. Come on, man. He's averaging 5.9 assists on the season, so that's an increase. He has literally increased everything, every important statistical category for the point guard position over the last 7 days. These are the trends that we want to pay attention to. These are the things that we have to talk about as a fantasy community when we talk about winning championships. We had about 44 people last year in our community bring home their fantasy basketball championship. The data don't lie. You follow the script, you win the chip. I'm going to write that down. You follow the script, you win the chip. I'm just saying. So in his last game, check this out. On the 29th of February, Trey Jones had played 33 minutes, 17 points, cooking, 6 rebounds. Yes. 8 assists. Come on, man. 1. I was about to say 12 steals. I'm wild for the night. 1 steal. Listen, he had 49 fantasy points in the points league. Come on, man. Like, it don't get much realer than that. It don't get much realer than that. I told you I'm coming with value down the stretch, y'all. If it's your first time hearing my voice or seeing this video, you better subscribe and turn on the daggone notifications because we have 44 championships from last year. I'm going for 88 this year. We want to double up. 88 championships this year. I'm shooting for it. I'm just saying. I'm not talking about followers right now, man. I'm not talking about likes. I'm not talking about shares. I don't give a shish kebab about that. I don't give a shih tzu puppy about that. I care about you winning a freaking chip. That is what is important to me. That is what is important to me. Next player from the Memphis Grizzlies, Jordan Goodwin. This is somebody that I talked about, I think, in like a bonus player maybe last week. But this is somebody you want to pay attention to. And this is real talk. The Memphis Grizzlies, we talked about it last week. The Memphis Grizzlies have been decimated, destroyed, like crippled by injuries. They are in a horrible place. They're not winning. They're not playing for anything. It looks like they're starting to rest Jaren Jackson Jr. here and there. He's nicked up. He's going to sit out. It's bad. John Morant, out. Marcus Smart, out. Desmond Bane, out. It's like, it's wild. I wrote a blurb for NBC Sports the last Friday for the Grizzlies, I think. And I said something like, you know, casual NBA fans will look at the current roster of the Memphis Grizzlies and not recognize a name. They'll look at the roster of as constructed, the way the Memphis Grizzlies roster comes across. They'll be like, "Who is Santi Aldama? What? Santi Alamo? Who is that? Sandy Alomar? Is that from baseball?" They don't even know. Jordan Goodwin, is that Michael Jordan's son? The one that was with Scottie Pippen's wife? Does he look a little bit like him? Let me stop. Lord, give me the strength. I can't. That Lord forgive me. He don't look like Michael Jordan's son. Not at all. Anyway, Jordan Goodwin, you want to keep an eye on. And honestly, I would keep my finger on the pulse of anything Memphis Grizzlies right now. Because somebody got to get the points. Somebody got to get the usage. Somebody got to get the opportunity. Over the last 7 days, this is wild. This is wild. Listen to this, y'all. And this is why you need to pay attention to him. Over the last 7 days, Jordan Goodwin is averaging 31.7 minutes per game. On the season, he's averaging 15. That is crazy. And that is a signal. In fantasy is something that we got to focus on. What are the signals that we're getting from coaching staffs? What are the signals that we're getting from rotation changes? Right? So somebody like Jordan Goodwin over here going from 15 a game to 31 a game is a big deal when you're in the midst of your fantasy playoffs this week or getting ready or trying to get in. So 31.7 minutes, 6.3 points. That's not too crazy, right? 5.3 rebounds, which is an increase from his season average of 3.2. 6 assists, which is great. But check this shish kebab out. 2.3 steals per game. Come on, man. Like, Jordan Goodwin might be the guy I like the most out of this crop just because nobody's thinking about him, and these defensive stats are killer. Especially if you're in a category league and some weeks you lose blocks, some weeks you lose steals. It's kind of your fringe category. This is the kind of guy that could put you over the edge week to week if this trend continues, which I believe it will down the stretch. But I'm not done. I said he's averaging 2.3 steals per game on the season. Come here. 1.7 blocks per game as a guard. He has positional eligibility for shooting guard and point guard. Y'all know what this is. Top off. Pick him up, and the top is off. Boobies is out. Hair blowing in the wind. Convertible status with Jordan Goodwin. He's the kind of player that, if it pans out the right way, could give you the push you need to dominate in the categories that you're kind of on the fringe with, or in a points league, just get you those heavily weighted defensive stats. Man, I like Jordan Goodwin. Next up, I told you I'm going hard on this episode. I told them in the Discord that I was going hard on this episode. It is not a game. Relentless. Let's keep it pushing. Okay, the next guy I really like, won't be as long-winded on this gentleman, but really good. Royce ONeal. He's really been shining. Like, in the land of the sun, your man has been shining. Over the last 7 days, he's averaging 33.7 minutes per game, up from averaging 24.8 on the season. 17 points a game, yes. 8.3 rebounds, yes. 4.3 assists, yes. Check this out. Come in close. Listen. 2 steals a game. 1 block per game. Your man is in the front row at the Wu-Tang concert just banging his head on the competition. Grab yourself some Royce ONeal if you want to win this championship with me this year. I'm just saying. I'm hyped tonight, man. I'm so excited about the playoff start, and you have no long-legged idea. Let's keep it pushing. Next player, another person who will benefit from the injury to Scottie Barnes, Kelly Olynyk. Over the last 7 days, Kelly Olynyk is averaging 23 minutes a game, 12 points a game, 4 rebounds, 3.3 assists, and 1.7 steals per game. In his last showing on the 1st of March versus Golden State, he played 28 minutes, 16 points, 10 rebounds, double-double, 3 assists. Check this out. 3 steals in the game. Listen, Grady Dick is not a priority over Kelly Olynyk for me. I would rather have Kelly, but if I'm streaming, I'm streaming. I'm grabbing whoever's available. So any of these folks on this list, they're as easy as I'll add them, I'll drop them if it's working for my roster. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about the schedule later in the episode. We're still cooking. Next player I want to talk about is somebody that is an oldie but goodie. Somebody that I've had on so many rosters over the years, and somebody that is kind of going out into the sunset with a bang. My main man from the Chicago Bulls, Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond over the last 7 days, 25.5 minutes per game, up from 17.3 on the season. 13.3 points per game. Check this out. 13.8 rebounds. This is Detroit Andre Drummond. This is 20-20 Andre Drummond, y'all. So, again, this is not an accurate representation of who he is right now. Drummond is not a 13-13 guy. But if he gets the minutes, he can be. He has that kind of skill set where when it comes to rebounds, very similar to a Dennis Rodman, the ball just kind of finds its way to him. He's not the best player, but when it comes to rebounds, especially if you're like rebounding is a category that you're struggling with, or if you're in a points league and you just want to get numbers, like he is the type of guy that could, down the stretch, he's the type of guy who could help you win that championship. For example, on the 28th of February against his old team, Cleveland, he played 36 minutes, scored 17 points, and had 26 rebounds. Let that sink in. 26 rebounds last week. Man, y'all better stop playing with me and go grab yourself some daggone Andre Drummond. Okay, so we're going to finish out the 10 with somebody that I've talked about, somebody that I like, somebody that's on the up and up. And he's a young guy. And it's the thing about like some of these guys on this list. We talked about CP3. We talked about Andre Drummond. We've seen the best and the worst from players like that. I've seen the best of Chris Paul. I've seen the worst of Chris Paul. I've seen the best of Andre Drummond. I've seen the worst of Andre Drummond. Players like the guy I'm about to talk about, we don't even know what the ceiling is. We can just assume and guess. So, from the Utah Jazz, I'm talking about my main man, and we talked about him last week a little bit. We're going to talk more about it this week. Taylor Hendricks. Oh, baby. So, the departure of Kelly Olynyk kind of opened up a little bit of a runway for the front court in Utah. If you follow the channel, you know I was super high on Walker Kessler. When I get it wrong, I get it wrong. I raise my hand. Walker Kessler has not been as good as I thought he would be, right? But I talked about Taylor Hendricks. And I believe down the stretch, he's going to provide you some value. Again, I have to keep repeating this. These guys, don't hesitate to drop them in a heartbeat. In a New York Nasty Nas minute. Like, drop these guys if you need to fill in that slot with another player. But he's someone you want to pay attention to. Over the last 7 days, he's averaged 27.8 minutes per game, y'all. It's exciting. On the season, he's averaging 17.6. You see what I'm saying here? He's averaging 8.8 points per game, 7.8 rebounds per game, and a block a game. So it's not the craziest, right? It's not the most impressive stat line. But what's worth noting is that it's slowly but surely increasing. For example, on the 2nd of March, just a couple of days ago, he grabbed 13 boards with 2 blocks. That's what we're looking for. So we're not looking for a guy who's going to drop 30. It's about his defensive stats and his rebounding. So do yourself a favor. Go put him in your watch list, or if he's available and playing on a day that really works for you, grab Taylor Hendricks. Now, as always, I do tons of research every week. Every week, I'm like reading articles, I'm watching videos, whether it's on CBS, RotoWire, Basketball Monster, #basketball, NBC Sports. Big shout out to my NBC Sports family, my man Noah Rubin, Raphael Johnson, and the man Zach Hanshu. Man, like I do mad work to get these, all this information ready for you, along with my own opinions, right? But I always have a list of leftover players that their names have come up, and I have a lightning round. I'm going to do yes, no, and maybe. Yes meaning I'm all the way in on them. No meaning like, I'm not so in on them, but you still need to pay attention because there are other fantasy analysts out there talking about them, and maybe it's like I'm kind of on the fence. So let's get to it. Here's the bonus round. Tumani Kamara, maybe. Terrence Mann, heck to the no. Karis LeVert, maybe. Corey Kispert, maybe. Bo, maybe. Santi Aldama, yes. Ayo Dosunmu, yes. Josh Hart, yes. Precious Achua, yes. Paul Reed, yes. Al Horford, maybe. Nick Richards, yes. Malik Beasley, maybe. Reggie Jackson, heck to the no. I am out on Jackson. Dennis Schroeder, maybe. Cam Johnson, maybe. Naz Reid, maybe. Benedict Mathurin, yes. Jalen Suggs, yes. Rui Hachimura, maybe. Cody Martin, maybe. Maybe on Cody Martin. Introducing Did It, your ultimate fantasy basketball cheat code. Imagine having a personal sports expert in your pocket, ready to dive deep into your league, analyze your waiver wire, and provide winning strategies, all through a one-on-one video call. You can even share your screen. Did It is not just advice. It's a game-changing experience offering you the unique ability to connect with me and literally go under the hood of your fantasy team. And here's the best part. Your first call is free, up to $25. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to elevate your game. Download the Did It app today and dominate your league. So, a couple of things happened that it would be just a disservice to you if I didn't talk about it quickly. The first thing is I got to take time to big up LeBron James. LeBron James just crossed the 40,000 point mark. 40,000 point mark. If you didn't hear about it, the only player in NBA history to do that. And it's going to be years until someone else even gets close. With that said, congratulations to the King. And also to all of the LeBron James fans out there. I know there are a lot of people out there who think LeBron is the GOAT. And honestly, achievements like this are slowly but surely kind of inching me towards having that discussion. I still believe Michael Jordan is the GOAT, but when you have a guy that can do this kind of stuff, it's hard to ignore it. So congratulations to the King. The next thing I wanted to just touch on are the broken hands. So Scotty Barnes had a broken hand. Russell Westbrook had a broken hand. This is for all my guys who are out there playing basketball. I know a bunch of the people who play fantasy actually play ball. I play a little bit of ball myself. I'm in my 40s, so I take it really slow. I tell people, I don't play defense to steal the ball. I play defense so you don't hit me in my daggone face and knock out my teeth. So be careful out there, because you see those moves, it wasn't even anything crazy, y'all. It was just like normal moves, and guys came out with broken hands. So this is just a public service announcement. If you are over 30 years old playing basketball and you are not a professional basketball player, ride slow, homie. In the infamous words of Paul Wall and Kanye West, ride slow, homie. You never know, homie. And the last thing is, I want to talk quickly about a playoff mindset. Don't worry, we're going to go over the playoff schedule in a minute, but I just want to talk about the playoff mindset. As I've been hinting at and talking about all episode, you have to be cutthroat at this point of the season, y'all. Cutthroat. Like, the argument that I have for people when they're like, no, I can't drop Colin Sexton. Like, you see what he did? And you see what Colin Sexton, it's Colin Sexton. He's a new man. It's like Cleveland Cavaliers, Colin Sexton. Come on, man. Listen, if you are on Saturday in a game and you down by 50 and you got Colin Sexton and you got 2 or 3 waiver moves still left or whatever, you drop Colin Sexton and you put somebody in. You drop whoever you got to drop, because if you lose, you can't, like, Colin Sexton not coming to your crib. He not coming to celebrate that you got 3rd place. You can't put him on your shelf and save him for later. The season is over. It's over. So, this week, if you're starting your playoffs, play it like it's the only week left. Now, you get up by 200 if you're in a points league. You're up a few categories in a category league. That's okay if you need to start making moves for the next week. I always encourage you to do that. If you have a matchup in hand, start preparing for the next week. But you can't be losing in the fantasy playoffs if you got 4 waiver wire acquisition moves and you in the week with 2 left and you lost. Look at your waiver wire moves like ammunition, and you don't leave the battle with ammunition. Everything you dump in the clip. Dump the clip. Come on, man. This is the fantasy daggone playoffs, man. Y'all think it's a game? Real quick, this is super important. We need you to be a 2-way player. We need you to play on offense, which is subscribing to our YouTube channel, and we need you to play defense, which is listening to our podcast. And if you have the opportunity to, please leave us multiple reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you don't listen to podcasts, this is an excellent time to start. And another thing, every season, right? We've only been doing the show for 3 years, so this is our 3rd full season. But every season, after the fantasy playoffs are over or people start getting eliminated, they like unsubscribe. They like unfollow us. They're like, okay, I'll see you next year. Don't do that to us. Like, this is all free value for you. And we're going to be doing content in the off season. So if you could do me a big favor, if you're in the Discord community, stay in the Discord community. If you're following us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, any of the social platforms, please stay subscribed, and also please stay engaged. We're going to make sure that you win this year, but if for some reason you don't, we'll make sure that you win next year. Now we're going to jump right into the Week 19 fantasy basketball schedule. Let's get to it. So, for Monday, we have 6 games. On Tuesday, we have 9 games. Wednesday, we have 8 games. Thursday, we have 7 games. Friday, we have 8 games. Saturday, 7. Sunday, 9. I'd be curious to know if you are watching it live and you're in the chat. Let me know what you notice here about this schedule, about the number of games and what that means for fantasy basketball managers. Please let me know. Big up to my man Dill, Kenny, Reed, Putback, Eurostep. Let me know if you guys can. I'll give you a minute. All right. So I'll let you know what this means. Because there are no days with 10 games or more, this means that this is perfect for streaming. You literally can stream every single day. You can stream every single day. If you don't know what streaming is, basically what streaming is the technique and strategy that you will use to outperform your opponent this week. Basically, you take the worst 2 players, maybe 3 players, or even 4 players on your roster, and you use their slots to cycle in new players. So if they're playing just on Monday and Tuesday, then you can drop them when the games start on Tuesday and pick up somebody to play Wednesday and Thursday. And that's how you win at fantasy. So, speaking of how many games people are playing, Brooklyn is playing 5 games this week. For the teams that are playing 4 games, we have Atlanta, Chicago, Cleveland, Houston, the Clippers, Lakers, Memphis, Miami, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Thunder, Magic, Sixers, Portland, Kings, and the Wizards. 3-game teams: Boston, Charlotte, Dallas, Denver, Detroit, the Warriors, Indiana, the Pelicans, Knicks, Suns, Spurs, Raptors, and the Jazz. Now, this is where it gets important, guys. So take a screenshot of this if you're watching. If you are in the car, later on, just go back and write this down. This is super important. The back-to-backs for Week 19, and this is how you're going to win. Especially because you can stream every day. Monday and Tuesday, Brooklyn have a back-to-back. Tuesday and Wednesday, Atlanta, Cleveland, Houston, Magic, and the Sixers have a back-to-back. Wednesday and Thursday, Chicago, the Warriors, the Kings, all have a back-to-back. Thursday and Friday, Miami, Minnesota. Friday and Saturday, Charlotte and Portland. Saturday and Sunday, going back-to-back. Again, Brooklyn. Brooklyn got 2 back-to-backs, y'all. Dennis Schroeder is looking really, really good right now. And also, the Clippers have a back-to-back on the Saturday and Sunday. And the best schedules, it's clearly the Brooklyn Nets. And that's not exciting to me. But listen, I see a lot of people out there trying to get rid of Mikal Bridges in trades. If your trade deadline didn't cross, this would be a great opportunity to buy low on him. But any Brooklyn player I would be taking a look at. Don't feel compelled to hold on to them for the whole week, though. Grab them for that Monday, Tuesday. Let it flow in the middle of the week, and then close out the week with the next back-to-back, which is on the Saturday and Sunday here. So that would be the plan, is really to focus in on streaming and paying attention to those back-to-backs. So my favorite part of the show is the Believe in Fantasy Basketball Mailbag, where we get questions from you in the community. If you are not a part of our Discord community and you want to join, all you have to do is visit BelieveInFantasy.com. That's BLEAV in fantasy.com, and you can sign up to join. I send emails out with updates and when our new videos are coming, but also you get access to our free Discord community. Right now, I think we have about 2,300 fantasy basketball fanatics in there, and we'd love for you to be a part of the community. So let's go ahead and jump right into that and provide some more value. So the first question I got right here is from Straw. Straw says, I'm in a 12-man league head-to-head, and I only have one free agent spot to cycle in. Should I consider dropping Trey Young or Desmond Bane to add another free agent spot? Yeah. Man, listen, especially Desmond Bane. Like, I have no faith that he's coming back. Listen, Straw, the last thing, what is happening with my screen here? Straw, the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a position where you're banking on somebody coming back and then they don't come back. For me, I think it's a good look for you to actually drop those guys and just move on. I wanted to get to a question from my man Ant Tech. He had a really good question. Let me pull that one up really quick. Ant Tech had a good question. Here we go. So Ant Tech wants to know, and that's my man. He's an aficionado of the community, one of our most dedicated and active community members. He says, for the next week's show, can you talk about Paul Reed? He's been averaging about 20-ish points depending on the league settings over the last 15 days. Can he be considered a droppable asset at this point, opening up a streaming spot? So, Antec, for you, absolutely. And for anybody who's thinking about dropping Paul Reed. At this point in the season, people like Paul Reed. People like Derek Lively. People like Dan Gafford. People like Mo Bamba. All of these players that like, hey, let me add him because somebody's out and let's see what happens. Grady Dick, you know what I'm saying? Kelly Olynyk, Taylor Hendricks. All of these guys are droppable if it makes sense. So I'm not if Philly has a back-to-back, right? If they have a back-to-back, I'm not going to be like, hey, let me drop him in the middle of this back-to-back. You want to make sure you maximize the roster slot. So he is definitely an expendable asset. We'll take another one. This is good. We'll close out with this one. This is really good. This one is from Reed. He says, where do you think Wemby would fall pick-wise next year for a head-to-head league? I'll raise my hand again and said I was wrong. I was wrong. I don't talk about this one as much, but I definitely was steering people away from Wemby for how high he was going in drafts this year. I just didn't see it, guys. And until I see it, I can't believe it. I'm not that kind of analyst that's like, oh, yeah, he's 7'3" and he's going to be great. Let's put him in the first round. Like, I'm not that guy, right? I need to see it to believe it. And I see it and I believe it. With that being said, mark my words. Victor Wembanyama will be a top 5 fantasy pick in any platform. Oh. He will be a top. I knocked my mic over. For my people who are listening, I just knocked my mic over. Mark my words. Victor Wembanyama will be a top 5 pick in fantasy basketball. Head-to-head category leagues, head-to-head points leagues. This is in sleeper, lock-in mode leagues, game pick, roto, whatever. Victor Wembanyama is for real, and he's here to stay. He will break fantasy basketball. Any guy who can get a triple-double off of blocks in his sleep will break the game as we know it. I just traded for him in a dynasty league. I paid an arm and a leg, but I know that it's going to pay off for me in the long run. So I got myself some Victor Wembanyama. So we want to make sure we are providing you the most value this week, right? The most value possible. So what I want to do is open it up to you as an invite and just encourage you and just suggest that you drop any questions that you have in the comment section of the YouTube version of this episode. Drop your questions on YouTube, and I promise this week, week 19, I will answer every single comment. If you have multiple questions, please start a new thread. So it gets confusing if on the same question, once I answer it, you come back like, hey, but what about this? It gets lost in the sauce sometimes. But if you start a new comment thread, I will answer every single comment. This episode was presented to you by BetOnline. The game starts here.